I'm Ashley.
And I'm Jackie. Welcome back to Dumb Witch Club.
Welcome. This is so exciting.
Why?
Today,
Why is it so exciting?
Why am I singing this?
I don't know.
I don't know.
It's really making me interested, though.
I know. Today, we're talking about sigils and
Symbols!
sigils and symbols. Sigils and symbols. Sigils and symbols.
I feel like crashing a symbol.
Yeah.
I don't know. What are we doing? Anyway.
Whatever.
Sigils and symbols. That's our episode today. But first, a card pull. Right?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
I brought back,
Of course.
the Seasons of the Witch Beltane Oracle deck because I like the Seasons of the Witch Beltane Oracle deck.
Yes.
And it is the time of year, regardless of if it's actually Beltane or not. So, whatever. Don't at me. I don't care.
Nobody's going to. They get it.
They're lovely.
They
lovely.
get it.
Springy, summery imagery. We've been liking the, sort of perfect weather we've been having. Mm-hmm. If you're not in Southern California, you're probably really mad
Why
at
do you
us.
always say this?
I don't know.
You're always telling everyone that they're mad at us.
I feel compelled.
Okay.
I don't know why. Must be something in my chart.
I wonder what it could be.
Think about it later. Bonfire.
Ooh, nice.
That's a very, intense image.
It is an intense image. It's like a huge bonfire, but almost the fire has become the hair and kind of the beard of, this person who has a very serious look in the middle of it. It's like...
Mm-hmm. And red eyes.
Yes. What does it say?
It says, it is through remembering that you will wake the ritual of your existence and be reborn in mighty celebration.
My goodness. Wow. That is super powerful. I think it goes really well with this topic, actually.
I agree. It's very ancient.
Yes.
So it fits the vibe.
I like it. I
like
like
it
it
too.
a lot.
I'll just place it right there.
I think that's great.
Okay.
Let's bring the fire then. I can't snap my fingers because my nails are
Your
too
nails
long.
are too long, but
Whatever.
they're so cute though.
They are. They're all springy, summery.
I know, they're
Little
so
strawberries
cute.
on them.
I'm obsessed. That's adorable.
Yes. All right. Sigils and symbols.
Yeah.
These are witchy tools, right?
They are witchy tools.
That's kind of the theme overall.
Yeah.
And then these are some of witchy tools.
The witchy tools that you can use.
Yes.
Yes.
And sometimes people haven't heard too much about, especially sigils, or maybe you've heard it, but you don't know what it is. We've mentioned this before.
Yeah.
Just dropped it into past episodes and always said, oh, we need to do an episode where we talk more about this. So
Yeah.
you're welcome. Here
For
it is.
2 years we've been being we should do that. Oh well, we're here now.
It takes a while sometimes.
It does.
We've been busy.
We got a lot going on if you haven't noticed.
Okay, so I want you to start.
Okay, I'll start.
Yeah, talk about sigils, girl.
I'm going to talk about sigils because I love them.
You do.
I love them. I derive so much meaning from them. I find so much power in them. I'm really excited to talk about them and kind of simplify it because people do ask a lot.
Yeah.
So, a sigil really is just a type of symbol.
Yes.
It's just a certain type. But it's this very deep magical thing. It's existed for a long time. I mean, the concept of a sigil has existed for a long time. There were sort of sigil archetypes that are ancient in many different cultures.
Yes.
The word comes from the Latin sigillum, which means seal, but then English and other languages sort of adapted that as a root word, and you can see it in signature, for example. So for me, that means something really personal because the most personal thing about you sort of in terms of what you're writing is your signature.
Yes, and it also lets you know this is about something that you write, that you make by writing.
Yes, which is probably another reason why I really like it. So what it is that you do to craft a sigil is you want to choose something you're focusing on. And this can be very broad, and so you're going to want to kind of narrow it down. It can be an intention, a goal that you have for yourself or, in terms of a relationship, a job, whatever it might be. It can be one word that's kind of a power word that maybe you have seen showing up for you, or a word that you want to embody more.
I love using it that way. I mean, all the ways are great, but that really calls to me, you know?
Definitely. Yeah, I'm not surprised that calls to you, because I feel like sigils, I feel like people really use them when they're trying to really pull something in, that maybe they don't necessarily feel all the way yet.
Yeah. It's a tool for lots of things, and manifestation and embodiment being one of them.
Yeah, exactly. And they're meant to empower you and to kind of like give you whatever it is that you're focusing on, to make it true for you, and in this really symbolic way. And a lot of times people like to say that you phrase the intention behind a sigil as a very self-actualized thing.
Right, an I statement.
An I statement, right? and a present tense, or like present progressive tense, or whatever, right, of that you already are this, or have this, right? Or whatever. Yeah. So why would you use this? Why use this instead of some other things? You know, because I mean, some people might be like, well, what about all these other spells you like could do for that, or whatever.
Sometimes you need everything that you can get your hands on.
Yeah, sometimes you do. And then also, like, why am I obsessed with them, and why might you be? Because if the written word is something really important to you, or a way that you express yourself that you find really powerful, or that speaks to you, this is probably going to speak to you. That's why it does for me. I think also too, like a little bit of like the secretive nature of sigilism is why I love it too, because it doesn't have to be anybody's business but yours. And hello, Scorpio, like I love that.
Well, and that's the beauty of any symbol, honestly, is that some, times there are universal meanings attributed to some symbols, right? And after the sigil part, I'm going to talk just more about other general symbols that you could use. Mm-hmm. But you can always make up your own, which is what a sigil is, essentially. It's a very personal, from yourself symbol.
Yes.
As opposed to a universal symbol that maybe a lot of people can read a similar meaning into. You can personalize those too, of course.
You can. You certainly can. And you're always able to do that. And a lot of times that probably meets your needs, and that's totally fine. But when you really, like Jackie said, like you really just need all hands on deck, so to speak, for something, this is a really good way to do it. And also because there's something about a sigil or a symbol that embeds itself in your unconscious because of the nature of it. You don't even have to like do really an active spell after you've created this. It's in there like working for you.
Yeah.
And even if you're like seeing it, encountering it, whatever, it's this sort of quick charge of energy that's already been imbued with what you planned for it. So you don't have to repeat a whole bunch of steps or repeat a whole phrase.
Yes, because it's all constant. Like the whole phrase or the word is concentrated down into this one sigil, which symbolizes all of the power of that whole sentence or that whole phrase or that whole word.
Exactly.
So it's all, and that's what another thing that I really love about sigils is that it's like all condensed into this tiny little thing, and it's all the energy is in there. It's
and that's really symbolic and powerful that that it's all packed in there, just sort of like how you contain all that magic. So I'll just give you kind of like the two concepts of it, and then I'm going to explain and show how to do it.
Are you going to do a demonstration?
Mm-hmm.
Ugh, I love it.
I know, I'm the Vanna today.
Can't wait.
So sigils you can construct them however you want, which maybe sounds a little too freeform, so I'm going to give you like a couple ideas. They can be like a temporary thing, so it might not be this total like lifelong or long-term thing. It's just maybe going into an event you have to do, or going into a season. You just kind of want it around for a bit. That's totally fine. They can be temporary, sort of like a spell. They will resolve on their own time, sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's like a trust the process kind of thing. So what you could do is you could draw them on you, like with a pen or like a makeup product. You could use your finger and draw them into snow or rain or condensation.
Yeah, steam on the bathroom mirror.
Steam, exactly. And that kind of like, I love that because that sort of stays there.
Yeah, and it's also super secret because if it's not steamed up, you can't see it anymore.
But then if it steams up, then you can. And then people might be like, what is that? But they probably wouldn't notice it.
And then you can be like, nothing.
Yes, I love that. I love that.
What are you talking about?
What are you talking about? I have no idea. You could carve it into a candle and then burn the candle.
I love that.
Yeah, because then that's, it lasts a little bit, but then it's essentially, somewhat temporary. You could draw it with I saw this on social media, I think, draw it with your cosmetics.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Like if you're putting on your like base or like whatever, your
or
blush.
Just moisturizer too. Whatever
exactly.
you're like. Yeah.
You can draw it on that way. You can stir it into a drink or put it in your food, like with your condiments or something like that. So that would be more of not seeing it constantly, but if you wanted to really reinforce it, you could be doing like a series of these things, as long as you felt like you needed to. And then if you really are like a light upon a power word that really speaks to you and you want it around a long time, or you really need something to kind of get you through and you don't know how long you're going to need it and you feel like this is something that, really speaks to you, I mean, you can incorporate that into a piece of art that is hung up in your house. So it's always around and you can always see it. You could, instead of carving it into a candle, you could carve it into something more permanent that you own.
Yeah, or a candle that you don't burn right away. And so it's, sitting there as a reminder and maybe you burn it eventually or maybe it stays.
Right. You could get a piece of jewelry made with it, like sort of like a talisman is what like somebody would call that. Or you could like put it into like a locket or something. You could even get it tattooed if you want to go that far. I mean, if it's something that you really want with you, that's something that you could choose to do.
Definitely.
Okay, so how do you do it?
Yeah, make one. Okay,
I'm gonna make one. So a very simple phrase that you could use, but powerful, simple but powerful, that you could use is, let's just go with I am strong.
That's great. I think most of us would like to be able to know that and feel that and say that.
So I'm just going to write it out.
And obviously, Ashley's doing this like with a marker on a big piece of paper to like show, but you could just, do this on normal paper, sentence size. You don't have to do it large. This is for teaching purposes.
Like an elementary school class.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just wrote that out. So then the traditional way of sort of creating it is, what you're then going to do is you're going to cross out any vowels that are in the phrase.
Right.
So I'm going to go ahead and cross out the A and the O. So then what I'm left with is, and I'm going to write out now the letters that I'm left with. Oh, and if there are any repeated letters, I almost forgot that. Are there any repeated letters? No, there are not. Double check me. No, there are not.
But you're keeping the I because that's I, like you, yourself. So you keep that one.
Yes, you keep that one.
But if there was another I in there, you would cross it out.
Yes, exactly. Now I'm going to go ahead and write out the letters that I have left. So then you're left with a phrase that looks sort of strange and probably very Nordic. Surprise, surprise. Now, what do I do with these letters?
Yeah.
I mean, even like that, it just like nobody would probably, I mean, maybe you could kind of guess it kind of looks like a license plate. So maybe people would be like, what does that say? What does that say? Maybe they could come up with it.
But
so
they might think that you're strange.
They might think you're
strange.
And not
strong.
Exactly.
But you could be both. That's totally fine.
You could still befuddle them. But what you're going to do instead is you are going to kind of incorporate the letters and shuffle them around to kind of make a symbol. So what I'm going to do is start with the I. I'm going to sort of draw that. And then I'm going to, I think, branch into an M shape.
So maybe even show at this point in the process.
Okay.
If you can.
I can. So I've started with the
Further.
I.
Yeah.
And gone into the M shape. And then this is just, you don't have to go in order. You can use your intuition on where you want to put the letters. I did do the first 2 letters that followed each other, but you definitely don't have to do it that way. So wherever the letters kind of lead you or however you want it to sort of look is fine. I think I'm going to branch up into the T. I'm not going to cross it yet though. And I'm going to come back in and I think do an R.
Here, and yeah, maybe kind of just show it again how it's evolving.
So there's the I, M, and then I went up for the T, and then I came down for the R. I haven't crossed the T yet because I didn't feel like doing that quite yet. And then I think what I'm going to do is I want to do the N to kind of loop underneath that. I don't know. I feel like that fits really nicely.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to loop the S. And then what I'm feeling like, there's the N, there's the S. Mm-hmm. And now what I'm feeling like doing is turning this into the G. And it's backwards. But that's absolutely fine. It's my prerogative. I can make it backwards.
Yes.
And now I feel like crossing the T. I don't know why, but I just do. And I'm going to kind of make the cross of the T bigger. I just want it to be bigger because I don't want it to be obvious that it's a T. So I'm just going to loop it like this.
So a couple things. One is clearly this is an intuitive process. Like the steps are the sentence and the eliminating the vowels, right? But then the little sigil itself, someone could use that same phrase and come up with a completely different sigil. Mm-hmm. And you could make another one. Mm-hmm. If you don't really like this one for some reason, or you want to see where else your intuition takes you with maybe some, mm-hmm. you can make another one as well.
You can.
And you also can just make the one and be like one and done. Like that's my sigil, you know? Mm-hmm. But it's a super intuitive process. And obviously anyone looking just at that is not going to have any idea that means anything, which is so cool.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, obviously I just did this as an example and I was talking through the steps as I was doing it and speaking out loud. It probably would look different if this was one that I was actually doing.
Yeah, like at home maybe with your candles lit and your intention and your, things around you, your altar, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
and you probably would have taken longer on it maybe probably. Also, you know?
I like some of the choices I made, but also even if you do like it, you can still make different versions. It's totally fine to make different versions. I've definitely done that before. And you can put a circle around it if you want. You can put some kind of like protective shape around it. Sometimes people like to do that. Mm-hmm. And if you're using it like on your altar or something like that, like I have seen people sort of do like put it in like a protective circle, something like that. That's totally fine if you're, actually you kind of have to generate it this way, but like I said, you can replicate it in all kinds of different mediums. It doesn't have to be paper and pen. It can just be paper and pen.
Yeah.
And then what you can do with it is you could, if literally like this piece, if I wanted to, I could cut this out or rip this off. I could burn this, scatter the ashes. I could bury it. I could dissolve it in water, sort of use the elements. That's the way of kind of like charging it with the energy that you want. Mm-hmm. But it's not totally necessary to do that either. Just the intention is really strong behind you creating it, that I don't personally feel it necessarily needs that extra step of like now you're activating it. A lot of things you're going to read will say that.
Yeah, but I agree with you. I think the act of doing it is activating it.
Yeah, I think so. And then you're going to be interacting with it. You're going to be writing it on you or using it in some other way. You might want to like chant the phrase when you're looking at the symbol, or I don't know. Like there's all kinds of things you could do to kind of like further the energy. And I think that's all great. But again, I don't necessarily think you have to. There's something about the way that crafting this creates something in your unconscious. I feel like it embeds in there. And I think it really just kind of does the work for you. And there's really no other steps you need to do unless you feel drawn to do so.
Totally agree. And Yeah, I think it looks awesome. And
Yeah, it
it's so
does.
powerful, you know? And obviously, if you do your own, it's going to look and be and feel totally different, but it's going to be exactly what it should be.
Yeah, that's true too. It's going to be exactly what it should be.
And again, even if you do different versions of the same phrase or, you know, what have you, like, they're still all valid, you know?
Yeah.
It's not like your first one isn't good and you have to redo it. Like, don't bring that mentality to it, you know?
No, I know, because people will do that to put pressure on themselves. Anytime it's creating something and it sort of like is adjacent to like art, then people start to really put that
Get critical.
They get that yeah, and it's like it doesn't have to be art. It doesn't have to be a piece of art. Could it look beautiful or be that if you want and you're artistic? Yeah, of course it can, but it doesn't have to be. It's not about that. And no, I think sometimes you hear the converse of that too, like, oh, the first way you do it is the only valid way, because come on.
That's also
That's not true.
That's too much pressure.
It is too much pressure. What if you're like in the middle of making it into something and you're like, ew, I just wrote that weird or did the wrong letter or something like that.
Yeah,
which is it.
Yes. No, exactly. I mean, that's the whole thing, is like it's meant to be something that is empowering and good for you. If you're feeling weird or like pressured about it, then that's not, it's
Don't
back,
do it.
you know, that's counterproductive.
Especially if you're going to get it tattooed, please make sure that you like
Make wise choices, people.
Don't do that.
No, I love it. And yeah, I really, really love it. And I love that you did a demonstration for us. I think that was very cool.
Yeah.
In terms of just other symbols or symbols in general, I kind of have a little list of things to bring up. And again, these are like more of like the universal archetypal kind of like symbols that are used a lot, like in kind of art and art therapy even. But you can also personalize them. You can make them mean anything. You can use them in conjunction with your sigil. You can incorporate one of these symbols into, you know, either your actual sigil or just maybe underneath or above your sigil, you know. So you'll see these shapes are super basic. They're like line shapes, like a bowl. The bowl shape is one line and it's like a U, and that's a bowl. And that can symbolize yourself, primary matter, creation, womb, core, center, however you want to kind of label that. But that's kind of what that shape symbolizes archetypally. Yeah. So again, you can see how you could put that underneath your sigil, and then that would add some meaning like that to your sigil. Again, if you wanted to, or you can just use these other symbols in some way alone.
Then it would look like that.
Yes, exactly. You know, the next symbol is an arch, which is the opposite of that, and that really symbolizes a safe place or protection, like something that's protected underneath, like a little hut. There's also a circle, obviously, just your basic circle, which symbolizes a cycle, like the grand scheme of things. Also symbolizes containment, like whatever's within the circle is contained within the circle. You know, if you're really feeling like you need to, you know, isolate some kind of energy and keep it where it is, you know, like Ashley even said, you can draw a circle around your sigil, you know. Another cool symbol is a spiral, which is a really interesting one because a spiral is never complete. Unlike a circle, which, you know, is complete, a spiral is always open, and so it represents incompleteness, but in a balanced way as well. It also symbolizes descent and resurrection, because you can kind of think of the spiral as spiraling down or spiraling up. Makes sense. However you want to use that. Okay, I learned a word when I was doing this. So there's like the sideways figure 8, which is sometimes we call the infinity symbol. Yeah. It has an actual name.
Oh.
Yes. It's called a lemniscate.
Oh, lemniscate.
Lemniscate.
Interesting.
Why didn't we know that? Because it's a weird word.
It's super weird. Lemniscate.
Yes, but that's what it is. So that shape really is about healing and about a really natural kind of open flow and exchange of energy. A vertical line is another way of representing self, but it's really like a strong, almost heroic sense of self, like a very determined straight line. It also represents the here and now, like in terms of being present and be really here. A cross So either like the Christian kind of cross like this, or the sideways kind of X cross. Either one, they're about a unity of opposites. Those opposites can be life and death. They can be, quote unquote, masculine and feminine, like a binary, meeting to create a non-binary, in that shape. It can symbolize death as well. The triangle represents unity and cooperation. And the square or the rectangle, which square is just a rectangle, so they're the same thing, represents stability, integration, the earth or the body, kind of a very grounded, like stable four corners kind of thing. And that's in a lot of traditions as well, like calling to the four corners in witchcraft, in Native American, they do similar things. So, and the last one is a dot. So just a simple little dot, which is not exactly a circle. It might come out looking like a circle, but it's a dot. That's a seed. It's a beginning and an end. But if there's many, many dots, that can represent the collective. And you can even draw some of these other symbols with dots instead of solid lines. So it kind of adds just like an interesting other flavor to it. So all of these can be used the same way that Ashley was describing all the things with the sigils. So, I'm not going to like say all the same things again, but you can combine these. You can do one or the other separately, I just think it's really cool because language is symbolic.
It is.
And these are symbols kind of almost without language, even though we're assigning words to describe the meanings. You don't need language to understand these symbols.
Exactly.
So it's really, really cool. And that's like what Ashley was saying. It gets to your like unconscious and deep in there.
There's something just like readily understandable about them, like on a level that like it makes sense looking at it physically. It makes sense like the way it feels. Like there's just something about it that like intuitively what it means.
Yes.
Yeah, and that works perfectly for a lot of purposes. This might be better for some purposes. It just all depends on what you're trying to do. Again, like these are just tools that you can use. I love that they're just really versatile tools because they can be used in the most simple of ways. You really need like no tools to do.
Yes.
And to incorporate these into your daily life and sort of the things you're doing. It can up to something super elaborate if you really wanted to, but like ultimately it's as simple as like writing it or using your finger to trace something out, even the lemniscate.
Yes. You can draw it, you don't have to say it.
That's right. See? It's a symbol.
Yeah.
We don't need the word.
Awesome. What fun. I feel very empowered by this.
Me too. I even love the little one I created. I feel like she's a cutie. She's strong.
She's a keeper. She's adorable.
I love her.
Yeah, I love her too, and I'm really glad you did the demonstration. I think that's really cool. Yeah. And for anyone listening on, podcasts, listening only, check out the YouTube if you want to see it. Or I think we tried to describe as well as we could what was going on. So.
We did, but we're cute, so come on
also
over.
True.
Take a gander.
We're an eyeful, so. Couple of eyes full.
We really are. We really are. So.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, until next time.
Stay witchy, friends.
And stay dumb.
Dumb Witch Club is written and hosted by us, Ashley Sidner.
And Jackie Gerard at the Dumb Witch Clubhouse in Orange County, California.
Produced and edited by Matt Heinemeyer. Art direction by Violet Turner. Culture consultant Jane Turner.
Original music by Ashley Sidner. Look us up on all your favorite social media platforms, including TikTok and Patreon.
Until next time, stay witchy, friends.
And stay dumb.